Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Wade Watches. I'm Wade, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Superman from 1978, also known as Superman the Movie, directed by Richard Donner and starring Christopher Reeve, Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, and Margot Kidder. And as you guys, have probably guessed already, I'm taking a look at this particular Superman film and a handful of other Superman films leading up to the new Superman movie we are getting next month. And I already announced this on Instagram, but I'll say it again for you guys here. I'm not going to be taking a look at the Man of Steel's entire cinematic history. There's just not enough time. So no serials from the 1950s, no Superman 3 and 4 because I'm not into self-torture. I just can't. I can't go through that. And maybe not, perhaps I'll have time to get to BVS and Justice League, since after all, Soups is still heavily featured in those films as well. But I'm definitely aiming to hit Superman 1, which I'm about to talk about shortly, Superman 2, Superman Returns, and Man of Steel. Those are the key four that I would at least like to review. Maybe not with BVS and Justice League. But with all of that good stuff out of the way, let's talk about the original. Technically not the very first Superman ever. Again, 1950 serials. No time to talk about that. But definitely the original in terms of being one of the first pioneering mainstream comic book films that we definitely have to credit for the success of these movies today, even though some people are saying maybe it's time, maybe they've had their day in the sun. We wouldn't have an MCU without this movie, is what I am saying, and I can definitely see why. Let me first start off by saying, I grew up watching the reruns of this movie constantly. I remember watching it for the first time on cable when I was like 3 or 4 years old. This was one of my this and the Justice League cartoon were my first introductions to the character of Superman, and it still holds up all these years later. I absolutely love this movie. I will say there are some parts that, and I definitely noticed this more as an adult, that are kind of dated. There are some things that are questionable. There's no denying that, and you can point the finger at me and say woke. Oh, woke, that's woke. But whatever, it's true. And and honestly, I'm not gonna hold that against it, because of course it's a product of its time, and so are a lot of so are a great number of many of my all-time favorite films, which are considered cinematic classics that are also products of their time. So I'm not going to point the finger at Superman 1978 and say how dare you, it was a different time. And so there's that. Outside of the looking past it being a product of its time, it is still a very solid superhero movie. It's a solid Superman movie. Christopher Reeve. Like, when I look at Christopher Reeve, I don't see an actor. I do see Superman. Christopher Reeve is Superman, and as the tagline says, he always makes me believe that a man can fly. Perfect Clark Kent, perfect Superman. Just in a in a damn near perfect movie. Where only gripe that I have about this film that prevents me from, like I said, it's a near perfect movie. The only major gripe I have, and this has nothing to do with it being a bit dated, is how Lex Luthor is handled. I don't really like the idea of a criminal mastermind, a criminal genius, having two absolute idiots for sidekicks, even if it's for comedic effect, because again, product of its time. I get that, and perhaps that's why it's in there, but they're too stupid. And it's even more made noticeable by the fact that Luthor himself is kind of like, why am I using these guys? They're more of a liability than an asset. And I just, from what I know about Luthor, just don't buy it, and I'm not even a comic book purist. And also, Luthor's plan is just kind of underwhelming. Like when it's executed, it does actually present a very visible threat. It has Superman, Superman on his toes. It has Superman very tense. There are actual, consequences as a result of Luthor's plan, but the plan itself is just very like low stakes, very underwhelming. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I get that you have a reason as to why this would, kind of be. See, there he is, there he is behind me. Just got through watching it. I get why you think why, you're explaining to me why this would not be a great thing if it happened, why this would be a very visible threat, and then you go on to show it. But honestly, really, that's all you want? It's that kind of evil plan. I'm thinking to myself, you're Lex Luthor, think bigger. And you're played very well by the iconic Gene Hackman, think bigger, man. So yeah, that part has always bummed me out. So as a result, wrapping it all up, even though this has all the trappings of what could be a perfect Superman story, that one part of it, that one part of the execution prevents me from saying yes, flawless across the board, masterpiece, because I'm just not a fan of the overall threat of the movie, even though it's portrayed by a great actor who's doing the best with what he was given. So wrapping it up, I'm gonna go ahead and give Superman the movie a solid 9 out of 10. It's still a great movie. I still love it every time I watch it. I still enjoy it. Just like as a Superman origin story, which after all, that's what this mainly is. The Luthor stuff. It's a nearly 2.5 hour movie. It runs 2 hours and 20 minutes. Luthor doesn't come in until the middle to the end. So that doesn't, it's not like when it starts off, he's already an established character. Superman's already been around for a while. This is a Superman origin story. But when that part comes in, I am kind of like, But other than that, everything about this movie absolutely works for me. Love this guy as Superman. He really is Superman, and his real life, his real struggles are very unfortunate. But every time I watch the film, I'm looking at Superman. Love his portrayal of Superman. Love the way the origin story is executed here. I've even grown to like Lois Lane. Lois Lane always used to annoy me. I'm like, she's kind of pushing it, but I really like how Margot Kidder plays her. I've grown to appreciate that because that is kind of how Lois Lane is. She can be kind of a bitch, kind of an asshole, kind of cocky and everything. Like Superman always has to go save her, but I like how she is. I like this portrayal of Lois Lane as well. I like Jimmy Olsen, I like the whole Daily Planet. I like I like when he's Clark Kent, how even though he's huge, he's 6'4" in this movie, he's a massive guy. I like how he manages to still kind of come off as this big bumbling softy. So all of it works here. It's a solid film. It's a great film. It's just not perfect in my opinion because of the Lex Luthor stuff. I've always been underwhelmed by that. I'm having literally just watched it. You see on the screen behind me, I'm still kind of just like, yeah, this kind of brings the film down just a little bit. So once again, Superman the movie is a solid 9 out of 10. Still really enjoy it, but I cannot say it's a perfect 10 out of 10 despite I know a lot of you out there will die on the hill that this is not only the best Superman movie ever, it's one of the greatest comic book movies ever, and some of you will say it's one of the greatest movies ever. And I appreciate you guys. I definitely respect your opinion. I'm just not one of those people who can say it's a perfect movie, but I still really enjoy it. So it's a 9 out of 10. This has been another edition of Wave Watches, and I'll be back with more Superman related reviews. Namaste.